Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is 18 Hours special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight on Direct Connect, a panel of experts answering your questions, and later on we'll feature iBreast. That's on our Small Giant segment tonight. All right, gentlemen. Appreciate very much you taking the time out for being with us here tonight to answer all the questions that have come in to us. Let's kick tonight's show off with a query that's coming to us from Huzaif Ansari. Go ahead, Huzaif.
Main issue we are facing during the startup is how to raise the fund. Because we are trying to get fund from various angel investors, venture funding, but we are not able to cope up with them and we are not able to connect with them. And there are lots of issues which is faced by startups.
All right, startups. So let me come to you, Sunil.
So, if he is a manufacturing startup and has some innovative products, he can register his company for a Startup India initiative, and also through filing patent is possible. And he can get funding through various schemes, which are again, like for example, SIDBI is offering the funding for the various startups. And for the marketing and his other sales and other promotional activities, he can always register himself for SME chapters in various, whichever city he is coming from, so that they conduct various events, trade fairs and promotional events where he can display and showcase his product, which helps in terms of selling and marketing his products across various audience and the customers.
Okay, I was hoping you would also recommend the Leaders of Tomorrow in terms of being able to get in touch with us, but go ahead.
Also, so to add to what he just said, he can also look at government as one of his customers, because government, the current government is very, very keen on providing LED lights to rural areas at low cost. So, he can look at government as one target customer as well.
All right, Huzaif, thanks very much for calling in with that. That is in response to your query. Trusted answers the questions you had for us. Our next query is also call coming to us from Jay Prakash Raj. Go ahead, Jay.
We are into mechanical industry. We recruit employees for work, but they leave organization within 2 to 3 months, in which we are into great loss of expenses of money to train the employees. So kindly suggest what can be done.
Okay, this query we get in different forms, of course, quite often about retaining, and you were talking about this previously, saying look at your internal processes if your employees are leaving and not just asking why are employees leaving.
Plus, what is important is one need to analyze why people are leaving. So he can always create a kind of exit interview policies, which is formal or informal, to get a feedback that what are the various reasons why people are leaving. And based on those, he can structure his whole policies, HR, accordingly, whether people are leaving because of salary reasons, or people are leaving because of a job dissatisfaction, or people are leaving because there is no learning opportunities. So there are various factors which can come out of this exit interview, which he can take it formally or informally with the people who are leaving, and incorporate those as a kind of a corrective measures in his whole HR.
So you would suggest that this kind of manpower and this kind of cost which goes into putting these rules in place, no matter how small you are, it's critical to have.
It is critical, and plus this exit interview, getting a feedback why people are leaving and then taking a corrective measures for that is important.
Sure.
The entire HR operations could be conveniently outsourced at a very small fee, but essentially the point what he is driving home is very, very clear, that most MSMEs, which are people-driven enterprises, at least in the area of HR, they have to go to process-driven enterprises for long-term retention of people.
Okay, so do look again, like our experts have said previously, Jay, do look at the processes that you have in place, whether it's a framework, whether it's an exit interview, and keep a close eye on that to try and understand perhaps why you're having such a huge churn of employees. Our next query is also call coming to us from the line of Baljeet Bhatia. Go ahead, Baljeet.
बिजनेस में काफी कंपटीशन भी है और काफी फास्ट भी हो गया है के लिए कि जो आदमी अच्छे तरीके से बिजनेस कर पाए, इसके लिए मतलब गवर्नमेंट हमें क्या क्या सहूलियत मतलब दे रही है?
Okay, so two-part question. One is facing competition, and the second, he says that if they're not able to deliver products on an urgent basis, his customers are going to his competition, which I assume is he hasn't built that loyal customer base.
No, there's another reason also. If he is losing customers because he is not able to supply on time, that means he is not keeping enough inventory in his place.
Absolutely.
So he has to plan his inventory. Now, how do he plan inventory? Obviously, he used to have a constant dialogue with the customer, get himself in terms of information about what is their projection requirement, and then backward plan the inventory for that.
To add to what he just said is the answer lies in proper supply chain management and key account mapping. See, the kind of spares he is supplying is not, it's a very specialized kind of an industry, though there is a lot of competition, but if he stays very, very close to his customers, he would easily be able to predict that what kind of spare would be required to what kind of customers in which part of the world, and he can easily plan his inventory. In fact, the blessing that is available to him is there are a lot of these cloud based small applications available which can kind of get integrated into the ERP of the client, and it can send flags about all these things, because logistically sending it also there is some kind of lead time required.
That's an interesting point. I was just going to come to that we've not ever spoken on the show about what kind of technology or processes or software for supply chain management should manufacturers, should suppliers, should exporters like himself have in place. And you're saying, for instance, he can definitely use cloud and look at not just meeting the demand, but also getting updates saying you've supplied it on this date, possibly you should be looking at your fresh supply around this. So Baljit, a couple of suggestions. One is, of course, technology is your best friend, so do look at that, and also look at other things including pricing if you feel that you're facing a bit of a challenge. Our next query is coming to us from Kishan Karunakaran. Kishan has written in to us to say that he's a distributor of diesel fuel. He says banks have a tendency not to provide loans to MSMEs, therefore don't get financial help and support from banks. Advice for our experts. We're constantly talking about this, but for the benefit of Kishan, what would you have to say?
Okay, so I would recommend that, Kishan, first of all, it's not that banking sector does not have a tendency to provide. There are 2 or 3 things which is called as basic hygiene, which he needs to maintain. For his sector, that basic hygiene is usually missing, because see, if you are a distributor of a diesel fuel, your credit rating or your CIBIL rating is very, very important. Your KYC needs to be in place, your basic documents have to be proper, you should file your returns on time, and make sure that whatever collections, because most of the time a distributor of diesel fuel would get a lot of cash. So he has to report all of these very, very accurately to the government to make sure that he comes up clean with all his books, his CIBIL is clear, and then he follows a particular process which the banking norms have put in. I see no reason why banks will not support him.
And also his area sees competition from some of the biggest names. All your HPs, etc. are in that space. So possibly you think that could be posing a challenge?
No, that always is a challenge from bigger players to a small company. But the other thing is that if he is not having a documentation, what he said, then there are other ways of getting it, because there are now lending institutions available who value you and who assess you in terms of your credit strength is through various other data available, So there are sales records available, there are kind of your ecosystem where you transact your business is available, and based on that they can start lending, and some of these are, as I said earlier, the NBFC platforms like Capital First.
Sure. All right. Yeah. All right, time for one last query then tonight. This is a query that's coming to us from Nilesh Taras. Go ahead, Nilesh.
Customer company administrations are the biggest concerns to handle risk. Since 2001 year, I had to close businesses from various renowned companies because of dirty politics and special demands they asked. I had done decent and best everywhere, but due to admin, I had to close down as we don't believe in sticking around and doing business on the basis of bribery. This is the main concern I have.
So my empathies lie on both sides. One is, of course, he's running a business, but the second part is that he's working in an industry which often overlooks its employees and overlooks them quite often. What would you have to say?
Since he's dealing with the drivers, and traditionally drivers' educational levels are very low, yeah. So I believe he need to provide some amount of orientation skill, behavioral skills, kind of a knowledge, and a kind of input, so that they feel attached to this company. They get kind of knowledgeable about how the business run and what are the constraints of business, and they are getting employed by this company.
But even your large giants, whether it's an Ola or an Uber, also face constant, strikes, challenges, etc. when it comes to managing their pool of drivers, and they're not even their own. But I presume that these drivers are earning slightly more than your other drivers, but even they are having challenges. So clearly, there's a lot that needs to change in this industry.
No, in terms of administrating his customers, obviously he need to take care of using a software.
Yeah.
So he can have a contacts and what kind of a communication he has to do. So there are small software available which he can use, so that he can have a constant dialogue with the customer and administer the whole ecosystem, not only his drivers but his business relationship with our customers also.
Sure.
So he should have some software.
Okay.
Okay, I'll address the second part of the question, that he had to stop working with certain companies because of politics and special demands from them. I think there is, it's a sunset thing that is now there, because things are becoming very, very transparent. And as he rightly said, that if he is using kind of a portal or a software which latches into his customers' ERP or administrative systems, then special demands by unscrupulous people or politics or favoritism will eventually come down, because most companies now have very, very sound, the larger ones at least have a very sound this reverse bidding platform, where each service provider can actually bid for business, and the whole thing is very transparently done online. So I think going forward, he can again approach those companies and see whether if they have migrated to such platforms, then he can relook at starting the business with them again.
Sure. All right, completely out of time on this episode, gentlemen. Thank you both very much for being here tonight. Time for a break. On the other side, iBreast coming up on our Small Giant segment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight we are bringing you the story of iBreast on Small Giants. Collectively, the US, India and China account for almost 1/3 of the global breast cancer burden worldwide. Persistent efforts over the last 50 years have increased breast cancer survival rates in the US alone. However, the rate of rise in India is still rampant, and we'll soon be staring at a breast cancer epidemic. But do we have the awareness and tools to prevent one? UE LifeSciences, which is a US-India-based health tech startup, has presented an answer to India's soaring breast cancer numbers with the iBreastExam, a palm-sized handheld device that's used for early detection of breast cancer. Karishma Vanjani has more on this story. Take a look.
1 साल से मुझे पेन हो रहा था, मतलब लग रहा था लम्प्स, लेकिन मैं उसको इग्नोर कर रही थी। तो मुझे लगा मेरी फैमिली में किसी को नहीं है तो मुझे कैसे होगा। इमीडिएटली मैंने ऑपरेशन कराया, 6 कीमोथेरेपी लेनी पड़ी और 24 रेडिएशन लेने पड़े। ब्रेस्ट कैंसर इज़ वेरी कॉमन, ये ज़रूरी नहीं है हेरिडिटरी की वजह से ही होता है। हेरिडिटरी की वजह से 40% चांस रहते हैं।
I was only 43 when I was got detected with this. Actually, I had gone for my routine test checkup. Their doctor told there is some lump. I didn't take it very seriously that time. Then I got it further investigated and came to know it is cancerous. And then I went through all that test cycle and then surgery and chemotherapy, 6 cycles of chemotherapy and then radiation also. It was painful. It was really painful. I was totally bald. It was 2nd stage cancer, but then okay, I survived.
Breast cancer. Breast cancer is India's most common form of cancer.
It accounts for 25 to 32% of all female cancers in all of these cities. This implies 1/4 of all female cancers are breast cancers. What's even more shocking is the fact that it's still a non-existent entity for majority of Indian population. Many Indian rural women think that screening is an alien word. So hoping to create awareness this World Cancer Awareness Month, Leaders of Tomorrow speaks to UE LifeSciences. It's an Indian health tech startup that has created a device that detects breast cancer in early stages. I want to first understand, how does iBreastExam work and how is it different from a mammography?
So Karishma, iBreastExam is this handheld device. It's a battery powered wireless device. It offers a breast exam in 5 to 7 minutes without any pain or radiation. So it's a very quick test. It gives results on the spot. And the best part is it can be offered by any doctor, any technician, nurse, any health worker. So that's where it differs from mammograms. Mammograms are these bulky machines. Mammograms need to compress the breast with 40 pounds of force. It uses some small amount of radiation. So it's a modality that is a little scary for women. And women don't openly go for mammogram very routinely, because of which. So this device is able to provide access to women in an affordable way and without any kind of deterrence or fear to being tested.
Tell me, how welcoming have the medical industry and the consumers been to this innovation?
We are now working with over 35-40 organizations. In the private healthcare, we are working with the likes of Manipal Hospitals, Apollo Hospitals, Narayana Health. And on the public side, we are working with Maharashtra government. We are soon to launch a project with Rajasthan government. So we are really seeing a response from both sides, which are in totality are providing healthcare to the people in India.
So you spoke about collaborations with the government, the Maharashtra and the Rajasthan government. Let me take that point a little forward and talk to you about the recent changes. Government in recent months has slashed prices of knee implants and heart stents. The $5 billion Indian medical tech industry, which includes of course the US Abbott Laboratories, has protested this move, saying that it's not viable, it's not commercially viable. What are your opinions on the same?
See Karishma, device manufacturers working in the developing world have a moral responsibility to try and provide solutions that are life-saving at an affordable cost. That's just a moral precedence that we all should have. Looking at it as an entrepreneur, as the founder and CEO of a medical device company, I think that a lot of investment goes into innovation, R&D, clinical validation, regulatory, FDA and other approvals. So it's a very expensive process, and at the end of the day, I think government should let this capitalistic system figure itself out. I think the competition in the market would set the price, and we are focusing on $1 as our price point right now, for example. It's disruptive to the point that it's 10 to 20 times cheaper than the closest alternative in the market. Okay,
so what you're trying to say out here is that government should not intervene in the Indian medical tech industry at all. I mean, at least not in the prices.
Yeah, I think that government can be a good advisor to industry. Government can urge the industry to focus in certain way. So I think that the government should really let the competition and the innovation and technology makers figure it out.
UE LifeSciences is a USA and an India-based startup. That brings me to my next question. That's a startling difference in the survival rate of both the countries, of breast cancer patients essentially. I mean, USA has 90% survival rate, whereas India, we have 50%.
Correct.
So how do you think iBreast is trying to bridge this gap?
The biggest issue in my view is lack of early detection. I mean, if you look at the two countries, United States, every woman gets checked routinely on an annual basis. So there, women come in at stage 1 and 2. And so the startling difference is that women are coming in at an early stage and getting treated early. What we really need to do is focus on early detection, because our treatment mechanism is in place and getting better every month, every year. And I believe there is room for innovation like iBreastExam that ensures that early detection is affordable and socially acceptable.
UE LifeSciences has about $5.6 billion funding by now. What has been the incentive for investors to cash in? Is it the socially impactful model?
I think that's been the key reason why somebody like Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw and Ranjan Pai have gotten involved with us. It's not because of its profitability or its ability to really create financial value, it's really because of the impact that this has the potential to create. There are many good business plans that are good profitable ventures, but there are fewer business plans that can offer you that economic opportunity intertwined with almost at the hip to offer a huge impact potential. And I think it's really that impact potential that appeals to the philanthropic side of these astute investors, and to say, why not do this? Why not make a huge impact and create a successful business?
UE LifeSciences is in line with the Make in India program of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Yes.
I just want to understand about the revenue generation that's coming from India. I know the company is based in the USA, but what's the revenue from India?
So Karishma, I often use the line Make in India for India. We've come to India primarily because this is the breast cancer capital of the world. We came here because there are 290 million women that deserve to have a breast exam who are not currently getting a breast exam. So it's a huge market, and it makes sense to set up your infrastructure as a company in that market, to be really embedded in that space. So our entire management team is based out of India. We employ now over 50 people across 3 offices, Mumbai, Bangalore and Delhi. So I think it's a great place to build a business out of. And definitely we see India as one of the highest, if not the top revenue generating regions for us.
Okay, so let me quickly wrap up this interview. Let me end on a positive note. What is your message for women out there who are still scared to go ahead and get a health checkup done, who think breast cancer is just something that's coming down from the family? It's a family hereditary disease. What's your message for them?
My message is that 85% of breast cancer occurs in women with no family history. So that's your big statistic right there. If you think that you are safe because you don't have family history, then you're wrong. Majority of women who get breast cancer have no mother or sister who had breast cancer. And second, I would say, starting with you, when you go home, talk to your mother. And if you're above the age of 30, every woman should get herself tested, especially when there are no signs or symptoms, because that's when early detection is helpful in saving your life and giving you that confidence that you can beat breast cancer. So let's do that together.
We must try.
We must try.
We must try. We must try.
We must try.
We must try.
We must try.
We must try.
We must try.
Completely out of time on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have anything that you want to tell us, or you have any queries for us, do remember you can email us. leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com is our email ID. Tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now. You can also reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow and ET now. Call us on that number you see on your screen if you want to reach us directly. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good night.